Hates You.
Hello, and welcome to Everyone Hates You, a podcast with me, Michelle Shaughnessy, where we talk about rejections and failures. Today, I have in the studio Matt Richardson here to talk about some of his rejections and failures.
Oh, where do we start? I've had so many.
You are the third comedian named Matt Richardson that I know.
Really?
Yes, but you're the only one left still doing comedy.
Is that right? Because
Yes.
I did follow a guy who was kind of like a new act in Canada, I think. There was a Canadian
Yes.
guy.
Two Canadian guys named Matt Richardson have been in
Really?
comedy, and they've both since quit.
Yes.
Yes.
There was a guy here who started after me, a guy called Matt Richardson, and he started applying for gigs as a new act. And like he'd apply for he'd be like, I can come and headline your gig. And they'd be like, yeah, cool. And then it wouldn't be me when they got there.
Hilarious. I
So
love
he
that.
had to change his name and he was really upset about it. But then he stopped after not very long.
Wow, you're just knocking out all the Matt Richardsons.
Yeah, mate. You're going to be the last one in the game.
So you're winning at something at least.
Yes. Thank God for that.
So we were talking earlier about, obviously you can plug whatever you need to towards the end,
Yep.
but the one thing that my listeners have made very clear is they love hearing about the bad things.
Yes.
Rejections and the failures. And a lot of comics have said, I have so many of those. And then they've been a little hesitant when they've come on and have shared stories that ended in grand success.
Oh,
so
no.
I'm hoping you have some that do not end well.
I'm sort of the king in comedy of like almost getting something, like it almost happens
Okay.
and just doesn't ever quite. So for example, like Love Island, you know, the
Yep.
show that Ian Sterling is fantastic at hosting. It was down to me and him to host that.
Okay.
There was the I'm a Celebrity spin-off show. It was down to me and another comedian called David Morgan to host that. I've been that guy. Like there was a show at Jordan North, a very good presenter, like it was down to me and him to host a new reality show. I'm always just that one that doesn't quite get it. I get really far down the process and then don't quite finish.
Do you think that's almost worse than
Yes.
knowing right from the get-go you're not right for this?
Yes. I think
Okay.
Every time I'm not even considered for something, it doesn't bother me. The things that keep me up at night are the things that like, what did I do wrong at that? Because they liked me enough to get me to that point, and then I fucked it somehow, is what I always think.
Well, it's hard not to think that. Even if they're like, no, we just want a different direction. You think, well, what did I do that made you want to go that different
I'm
direction?
also not good in an audition or any kind of screen test or anything. I get
Okay.
super nervous.
Okay.
So that's never a good thing. When I get given, if I've had jobs like there's plenty of jobs I've done that, I mean, most of them only last a year. I don't do very well. But like a TV show, for example, if I'm given a show, it's always fine. But if I have to go and like jump through the hoops, I always like mess it up because I'm so nervous.
Yeah, a few people I know are like that, where they've pretty much told, this is yours. You just need to come in and do this on camera, and then they've totally tanked it on camera.
Yep. I've had a few of those over the years. Definitely one that was, what was it called? Survivor Island or something, or like something weird, and they were like, it's yours to lose. And I lost it.
Yours to
Yeah,
lose.
and I lost
Okay.
it. Totally lost it. Even though like it probably didn't go that badly but just badly enough they went, it's probably best that we don't.
When was the last time that you were so close to something?
Last year, I did a BBC Three reality show, and it was great because it was like, I think they were filming it in the Dominican Republic for 8 weeks, and they're like, look, we go in 6 weeks. It's going to be great. We really like you. And then, well, it was maybe even more last minute than that. I always suspected there was me and another guy, and they were like, it's just you. We just want you to have. We're just double checking. I think they might have used me because he wasn't signing his contract.
Oh, so they might have been like, we have someone
else
You're not gonna
lined up
sign
if
this.
you're not. Yeah.
That's the worst.
Yeah, I think I've been
Yeah.
used a few times. It's not even a failure then. It's like, we don't even want them. We just need to get a contract signed that he's nothing to do with.
I've been used a bunch of times, and I stopped doing this for people where people are like, listen, we're pitching this show. We need to make a teaser. We need to whatever. Can you come do this role? And you'll have first crack at the role or the audition. And then I haven't even gotten an audition, and it's been like known name people that do the parts. And I'm like, why? Like, I literally
did
just
I do?
wasted my time.
Yeah.
Waste of time.
See, there's one ever. I did a thing here for a game show, an MTV game show. I had this sort of thing where the production company making it is a company I'd worked with. I'm also the king of pilots. I've done more pilots than anyone you know. Like,
Okay.
I said, almost like so many things that they just nearly, and they're really good shows, and they just don't quite ever happen. I did this pilot for a show for MTV America, but it was a British production company, and the company sat me down and they're like, look, it's going to be an American hosting it. Like, they're going to have like some sort of celebrity in the MTV world. We just need someone to host the pilot in Britain. And I was like, yep, I'll do it, fine. And in the end, the MTV guys from America were like, I think we want you to host it. To the point where they were like, there was dates. There was like, can you move to New York for 3 months to film it? 3 weeks before I'm meant to go to New York, it all falls apart. Like, I've had so many of those where it's like, we're doing it. I remember once I did a pilot once for a prank show, and I don't really like prank shows, but this was really good, and it was for ITV, and I was at a party, and the ITV commissioner came up to me about 6 weeks after we filmed it. She went, "We're gonna commission it. It's such a great show. we're having it. 2 days later, they call and they go, oh yeah, they've passed on it. So she like said to my face, she was like, we're having it. It's a great show.
The problem is that a lot of people.
Why lie?
There's so much, but you know what? She might have thought that. And then she takes it to the other 6 people that have a say, and they're like, we don't feel it. And she's like, me neither. And
I don't really buy into the whole failure is like on the path to success.
No,
I just think it's shit.
I think it's shit too. I feel like we need to start being more realistic to people.
We sort of fetishize it, don't we? And that like so many people are like, I had 20 ideas for businesses and they all failed and my 21st was the big one.
Yeah, I'm sick of hearing shit like Vera Wang didn't design her first wedding dress till she was 40. Well, you know what? There was probably 100 other people who were designing wedding dresses since they were 4 fucking years old and they've gotten nowhere and we don't hear about those people. We need to start being more realistic about our dreams because the reality is it is too late for a lot of us. Yeah. Statistically. Doesn't mean it won't happen. It just means it probably won't happen.
Yeah, for every Jeff Innocent who's 67 and he takes off, there's 500 people who have just crashed and burned. There's 3 Matt Richardsons. You know, it might not happen for any of us.
Exactly. Although how pissy would that be if one of those just came out of the woodwork and took one of those?
Oh, it would kill me. It would absolutely fucking kill me.
Have you stopped getting your hopes up when you get these calls?
Yes, always.
Okay.
I remember because I guess my problem as well is like I was quite early on when things started to like I did some like TV presenting.
So you didn't have the full talent behind you that you have now.
I was like 3.5 years in when I started doing like the X Factor spin-off show. Like I was 22. And I remember I was doing like a little tour, like an art centre tour off the back of it. And I remember sitting in a meeting and someone going, this tour's going to end at the O2. And when you're 22 and you've got no clue, you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
But I've been promised something so many times that I just now think it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm in that same mind frame too, and I get really into manifestation.
Yeah.
Very briefly, and I do my manifestations every day. And I bought a lucky bamboo, which has since fucking died, so that's a karma sign. And I made a vision board, and it fell off the wall. My dog shat on it. So like, I go in waves where I'm so positive, and I'm like, I'm for sure gonna get this. Say my affirmations in the mirror, and then I don't get it. I'm like, manifestation's bullshit.
See, I go through that. I'm sort of naturally quite a positive person, but like, I sort of have to catch myself because I will sit there going, well, it's and then planning my life around this new big success. And then go, well, it's not like, come on, you need to do it. Like I play the lottery and get disappointed every time I don't win £100 million.
Oh, I do too, because I convince myself I'm going to win.
Yeah, I'm a nightmare for going, well, of course I'm going to win. Because also I'm a narcissist. So I go, well, I'm going to win because it's me and I should be winning the lottery, which is insanity, obviously.
It is insanity, but...
You couldn't do this job without it, though.
No, you have to be delusional in order to do this job.
Yes, you have to have a bit
of
point. It. Because if you just think, well, it's not going to go anywhere,
What's the point?
Why would you start doing stand-up thinking you'd just do open mics?
Like I meet people who are like legit doctors and stuff, and they're like, I'm going to start doing comedy. I'm like, why? Like why? You're doing fine on your own. Get the fuck out of here.
That's it. Like when I started, there were a lot of very good people at stand-up, but they did like 20 gigs and went, oh, I've done it now, and that was enough for them.
That's so frustrating.
They're just like, no, cool. Yeah, I've tried it. I did stand-up. I wanted to do stand-up, and now it's a big tick in my life.
Yeah. That's annoying.
Oh my
because
God,
if I could do something else, I would do something else. Like all the people are like, you have to have a backup plan. I'm like, I don't think you understand. This is my backup plan. Yeah. I thought I would be a famous actor married to a billionaire.
Did you?
Now.
That was the dream?
Of course, that was the dream. And then I started doing comedy. I got a lot of work right away. I started when I was 18. Started working within a year.
Yeah, we're very similar.
So I got a lot of stuff right away, but never that thing that would take me to the next level.
Yeah.
So now I just don't have any other life skills because my whole adult life has been in this business that I don't have anything else to do. I don't have any other skills to take anywhere.
Yeah, I feel the same sometimes in that, like, especially during COVID, but post-COVID, like I have a lot of times where I go, do I really want to be doing like driving around?
But what else are you going to do?
Well, that's the problem.
Are you going to get a job?
I've got nothing.
No.
Because I started at 18.
Exactly. I have no other skills. Like I'm not going
I've
to
just
sit
got
in a cubicle
a 15-year gap on my resume.
Exactly.
Where they go, what have you been doing? You're like, you don't need to know. Don't worry.
Exactly.
Don't Google me.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel. So I feel like I'm stuck. I feel at this point I need to keep up the delusion that it might work out for me, even though it's not going to. I need to.
But it might, and that's the annoying thing.
It might, but it probably won't.
I had a coffee yesterday with like a neighbor of mine who I've just moved, and like we went out for a coffee, and he said to me, he went, do you, like, genuinely, we were just chatting away, he's a really nice guy, and he went, he was like, so do you ever think it could happen that you will become massive? And like having someone like not in the industry going, do you really, is that something you think could happen? Made me go, no, but I don't want to think that because you know, there's a little bit of you that goes, but maybe. And that is just enough to keep you tortured.
And there's so much more to it than talent that people don't realize. Like, I talk to a lot of old school comics who are very successful and are at a very great level. And they just always say, as long as you're funny. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that anymore. That's not how it works. Especially with the age of social media. As you know, like, I don't know how old you are.
32.
Okay. So I don't even know what that. So I'm trying to think because I'm a bit older. So I grew up where we started comedy. It was done a certain way. It was just be funny, just be funny, just be funny.
Yeah.
And then halfway through that, social media became huge, and they were like, "Oh no, it's not done like that anymore. Now you have to have this." So all these younger people who've been on YouTube since they were children figured that out and are just surpassing people of my generation,
It's
which
a
is fine. I don't
full-time
fault
job
them
as well.
for that.
Like, it's, I've got some very good friends who've become very successful through TikTok, right, putting up stand-up
Yeah.
clips. But you speak to them, they go, "Oh, it's a full-time job."
Yeah.
I didn't get into comedy to have a full-time job.
No.
I got into comedy to have like an easy life, like a lot of that, like a lot of delusion thinking I was going to be massive, but like sitting at a computer for 6 hours editing videos every day, it's not happening.
So when you get calls that you are up for something, are you at the point now where you've stopped telling people? Like, because I'm sure at first you'd get excited and tell your friends and family, and then they'd be like, "Well, what happened with that?"
No
so
point.
you just don't say anything.
No point. Even if I get a call about it, I go, "Well, there's no point even like thinking about it." So, and also, you know what? I got taught a lesson because what I quite like though is in England or Britain at least, people are more honest with you than America. Like years ago, I had an American visa and I went to like LA for meetings, and I left every meeting going, "Well, I'm going to be the most famous."
They
person.
make you feel like you're really special, and then they forget about you.
Like I had a meeting with like the head of talent at Fox, and like Courtney Cox was in before me, and she came out and he goes, "I've seen this, I've seen that. I want you to do this. We've got this new thing. You're going to be hosting this kind of thing." And I'm sat there going, "Oh, well, this is easy. It's just going to happen then." But my manager there was British, and he went, "Slow down." Whereas I really like, actually, I've been in meetings before with like commissioners and like pitched them an idea, and they've gone, "No, it's just not going to work for us." I much prefer that than like being led along. So yeah, I just assume it's not going to happen now. I'm very pessimistic about it. And I think if it is going to happen, I don't believe it's going to happen. So I'm stood there physically doing the job because I've also done jobs. Even like last year, I was booked for a corporate that I'd done a few times. And they went, "We're going to send you the contract next week." And I called them. I was like, "Hey, 2 weeks, I've not had a contract." They're like, "Yeah, we're going to go in a different direction this year." I'm like, why promise me the contract? Why promise that then? Just say no. So I hate that, whereas I like when people go, "No, it's not going to happen."
I do appreciate that as well. And I do find people here are a lot more honest about that.
Yes. Is it different in Canada then? People are a
Well,
lot
in
more
Canada,
Americanized?
there is nothing in Canada. That's the problem. So a lot of, there just isn't. So a lot of people in Canada, like I can only think of 2 examples who have made it purely as stand-ups. That's Jerry D and Brent Butt. They both got TV shows.
Yeah.
And now they're successful touring comics and can sell out theaters all over Canada. That's the only 2. Anyone else has left Canada to get their fame.
And then come back to do stuff.
A little, but why would you come back if you're famous in America or Britain?
Yeah, just they come back and do the odd tour and then go.
Yeah, so you can make an okay living just doing stand-up, but it's not like here. Like
where there's so many tiers of.
Yes, there's not like that. So I definitely wish I came earlier. I definitely wish I left about 10, 15 years before I did.
Yeah.
And I get calls from comics all the time being like, "Ugh, like I need to leave." And I'm like, I told you this, because they just feel like
there's a ceiling you hit quite quick.
There isn't anything there.
Yeah.
The only people that are getting shows commissioned in Canada are people who have gone to America and got a little bit of fame, or people who are famous, like Eugene Levy, right? So like Schitt's Creek.
So he's been in Hollywood for 30 years.
So they just...
And took his son along and went, "This is my son's show, we should make it."
So we only have 2 networks in Canada that make things.
Yeah.
And most of the time, if you turn on the Canadian Comedy Network, it's just the Big Bang Theory constantly. Okay. So we don't have a star system in Canada. So there just is really nowhere to go there. Like you can have a crazy good social media following in Canada and it's not going to do anything. It's not like here where you can kind of make your own fan base.
And you can go and tour like art centers and things like that. And
not even.
Sell
not even.
tickets.
It's so bizarre there. Like I know people with hundreds of thousands of followers and that doesn't equal butts and seats.
That's bizarre.
It's very bizarre. But I found here... people care more about the comics. Like I would have people come up after shows and be like, "Where are you on socials? Where are you performing next?" And they keep coming. Whereas Canada, the people that kind of ran comedy in Canada for a long time was a chain called Yuck Yucks. And they made it very clear that Yuck Yucks was the name they wanted famous, not any of the comedians.
Couldn't you only work for Yuck Yucks as well?
If you worked for Yuck Yucks.
Yeah,
yes.
I did know that.
It's so messed up, but it's good to start there because it gets you your comedy legs. But then you have to leave. There's just no other options. You have to leave, and you have to leave the country, which is sad. And a lot of people fight it. There was like a woman who started a really big petition to try to get comedy recognized as an art form in Canada. They took it to Parliament, did all that, and that still never happened. So we're not even eligible as comedians to get specific arts funding grants and things like that.
Okay, because it's only recently happened here, though, like pandemic
But
time.
I find people, in general, respect comedy here more than they do in Canada.
Yeah, look, I mean, like, there's nowhere like it in the world where you can just, like, work 7 nights a week
Exactly.
if you wanted to in the clubs.
And I
make
find,
money.
because there is more to go around here, from my experience anyway, I can't speak for everybody's, comics have been a lot more helpful here than they are in North America.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Also, I do think that like here, comics are much more helpful because there feels like there is enough to go around. But also, I think there's a real thing here that no matter what TV you do, ultimately you're going to be working live always. So I think there's a real sense of like you could be the biggest comic in the world, but you still have to come and do new material at the new clubs, which I think gives everyone a lot more humility than like in America, for example, where you're either like on the poverty line or a millionaire in comedy. There's no real like gigging middle ground, is there? You're either making like really good money or nothing. Whereas here, because you've got that level of like, there's the £100 gigs and the 150s, and you kind of work up through it, and everyone goes back to them at points.
But you can also still have some late night credits and not get in the clubs at New York.
Yeah, I don't love the American model when I look at it. I've only even done a gig there once, not in New York.
Well, I was going to move to New York. I was there for a bit before the pandemic, and that was my plan. I got the green card, did all that, and then I came here, and I just started making money right away. And I was like, I can't do that there.
No.
Like, I can't make money there for a long time. So that's why I kind of gave up on that, which I'm still on the fence about. But I do feel like as much as things haven't worked out the way I want them to here, I'm still working.
I think, look, that's the thing. Like, and also, like, you have peaks and troughs. Like, I have years where I do like a load of telly and then won't for a year, but you can still just gig and still like be fine.
Yeah.
And that's what's really nice here, was I don't think that exists anywhere else. So as much as I talk about failures, what's nice is when all these things don't happen, there is still like a base level. If you're decent, there's a base level you can work
If you're
at.
good here, you'll work and you'll make money. That's the one thing that I learned, because I started working very fast when I got here.
Yeah.
Hit the ground running, and I'm very grateful for that. And that just would not have happened in America.
See, I think as well, there's you do gig with like a lot of sort of comics that maybe aren't great, but when things were better maybe 10 years ago, worked too much.
I hear from people constantly about certain clubs. Like when I'm at the store, for example, people are like, oh, must be nice. I used to play there all the time, and now I can't even get in there. And I'm like, that's probably a you thing.
That is a you.
You know?
I was gigging with someone recently, and he was like, well, it's not like the old days of doubles, is it? And I was like, it is, just not for you, my friend.
Yeah, I do like 4 or 5 shows a night sometimes in London, you know?
You know, man, like, it's just, you've been doing the same thing for 15 years.
Yeah.
So it's nothing. So if you can work, at least there is like that base level that you can fall back to.
When I feel audiences can smell bad comedy here a lot more than back home, I think.
Yeah, also I think audiences are now much savvier to like creepy men. I gigged with a guy recently, and I was just like, oh, you're a creep. Like, the way you talk to women in the audience is like unpleasant. And I think in the early 2000s, when like there was that kind of like entourage level of misogyny everywhere, it was acceptable. Whereas now audiences go, ugh. And that's
very
I think that's changed. Yeah,
for everyone.
And like you're a 50-year-old man like leeching at this 20-year-old in the front row, and it's not very nice. Whereas I think 15 years ago that was allowed.
Yes.
Whereas now, and I think there's a lot of those guys that don't really know what's happened. I go, you're a fucking creep, man. That's what's happened is you creep out the audience.
Yeah, that's a really
You
good
make
point.
them feel like not very nice when they're sat there.
So you book gigs. Do you have a hard time saying no to people that you know from the circuit who you just aren't, you know that they're not right or not good? So you've no problem with that.
My whole thing with so I've got a gig, I live in a village, right? And you came and did my gig and you were fantastic. I book people that I want to be around. Like in a dressing room, I book people I think they'll be nice to see.
Yeah.
That's my base level, basically.
Okay.
And I would rather book someone who is nice and lovely, but 10% funnier than someone who's a bit of a dick. 10% less funny, sorry,
that
than
makes
someone
sense.
who's a dick.
That makes sense.
Because I'm, it's where I live.
You also want somebody that's going to be nice to the staff and nice to your neighbors and all that stuff. We don't make much money from it. We do it because it's fun, right? Well, it's meant to be fun. And so I'm like, comedians I don't see very often. That's a nice thing to book. But I do find it weird that it's interesting because like talking about failure and where you see yourself and like, I'm not right for that. I'm not doing that. I couldn't get that if I tried. I sometimes book a gig that's like £1,000 to headline. The same people that apply for my £100 gig will apply for the £1,000 gig with no sense of irony or... You know what's strange though? I think a lot, like it's weird because I look at the pro Facebook group and a lot of the stuff is like £250 must have TV profile. And I'm like...
In Exeter.
What? Like who do you think you're going to get for that?
No.
But they must get some people or they wouldn't have the balls to ask that.
The thing is now though is there's been so much telly that people also, and this is going to sound like, I'm going to try and say this without sounding like I'm having a dig. People get telly a lot earlier now. Things like Apollo, people have been going 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
So they'd do Apollo and they'd have a very good Apollo set, but you wouldn't book them to close. Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Like people do things like Apollo or the stand-up sketch show and couldn't tour. They've never done an hour or don't even close the clubs. Like that's become common. So I think what now happens is it's not that they're getting TV acts for £250. It's that acts that are worth £250 are now doing TV.
That's a really good way to put it.
It's the other way round as well.
Yeah, and it's frustrating too because I do feel like I came here a little late in age because I do think from my short experience here, I've been told a few times very honestly by people that they want younger. Yeah. And that's frustrating.
You know,
because
really
younger doesn't equal better.
Is I recently there was a commissioner I went to see when I was like 22. And they're like, the problem is you're just too young at the moment to do a load of this stuff. And then I saw them last year and they were like, you've just gone past the age. And I was like, are you fucking joking? Like, we've had this conversation twice. Never in the middle did you go, now, let's do it.
You know what the strange thing is, though? I don't know any people under 25 who watch television.
No, of course they don't.
So I don't understand this whole push for younger on TV because those aren't the people that watch TV.
I do also think it's one of those things where, you know, if they really wanted you, they'd have you.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think there's been things where they've gone to me, oh, you're not quite right for this because you don't have enough followers, say, for example. And then you hit the point, they go, you need like 50,000 followers. You hit that point, then the next time you see them, there's another excuse. They were never going to have you. They just needed a reason.
That's a really good point.
Like, I do think that happens a lot, that they kind of pull out excuses. Like, we want younger. But then if you were here younger, they'd have gone, you're not old, like, you're not old enough. They will just find a reason if you're not exactly what they want.
That's fair.
I do think that happens a lot. And then people get worked up about it. We go, it's just you. They just don't have the balls to go, I don't like you.
Some of it's wrong because I know people who've been told, oh, sorry, we can't take any white men. And it's like, well, now you're helping perpetuate this like us versus them mentality when they just don't want you. So I do think there is a degree of that because some of those men I look at and I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with that because there's a lot of white men still on TV.
It's interesting because like there's a couple of white men on the circuit who have started to be like chippy about it publicly.
Yes, I've noticed.
And like I did a gig with an unnamed white man recently.
You'll tell me after, right?
Yeah,
okay,
obviously going to tell you. And he was like, well, you know, it's hard for people like us now, isn't it, with all these diversity quotas? And I was like, I'm still doing TV, mate. This is not about you being diverse.
But they're told that. And that's the problem. That's a dangerous thing to tell these people because then they get angry and they get bitter and they take it out on the wrong people.
Ivo Graham's on loads of telly because he's fucking great.
Yes.
He's excellent. Be excellent. And then if you're excellent and still not getting booked, but you're not, you're kind of like...
But the thing is, there are people who are excellent of any race and any nationality who still aren't getting things.
There's so many, I think, you know... I've been in dressing rooms where they go, well, you know, being a woman now. And I'm like, I know loads of great women who are struggling to get
means
TV.
Nothing.
And,
that means nothing.
Like, they're, you know, like, you're not on as telly like you should be. Lou Conran isn't on telly like she should be. Katie Mulgrew. Like, there's tons of women who are great who you think, well, if that's the case, then they should all be doing well.
Yeah, I mean, I've never done television in this country.
Yeah, it was madness. So, like, to give it a glimmer of kind of like, you know, every cloud, if you'd have told me when I was like 18 and doing my first gigs where I'd gotten to now, I would have been over the moon. So I think because your goals...
There are people who would love to be just working comics like we are.
All I wanted was to do... I just wanted to do 20 minutes at the Glee. That was all I wanted in my life because that was the big club in Oxford. And now you're like... Now, you know, it comes down
like,
and you go...
I don't want to go.
I'm in Glasgow. I'm at Glasgow Glee this weekend. It's so far. But I think that's the problem is... Look, and it's good. I think it's a healthy thing that as you progress in anything, your goals change.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is nice to stop and go, you know, actually... Like you do something really cool, like, you know, like the other week I did a gig and it was just, I was comparing a circuit gig, but it was in a theatre to 700 people and it was so fun. And I did go, this is sort of like this is a great life. You know, and I think I've definitely got the tendency to not ever stop and smell the roses. So I think sometimes you have to go, things are still cool. Like it's still fun. And, you know, it's still better than working in a job you hate.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
You know, but I am still very negative about everything. But it is good to kind of try.
Negativity is healthy.
I really try and go every so often. Go, oh yeah, this is like you know, I've not done anything else ever really. Like this.
Did you have a hard time not comparing yourself to people when you were younger?
Yes.
I feel like we grow out of that. So the people who don't grow out of it, it's very sad to see.
Yeah.
But I feel like everyone goes through that, and we do kind of grow out of it.
But also, we're all on our own path. We're all so different. Like when I started out with like Ramesh Ranganathan, Rob Beckett, Ellie Taylor, Ramesh, Angela Barnes, Ellie, and I did an Edinburgh show together, four-hander, and obviously everyone's gone in their directions, been amazing. But you go, why aren't I the one with the Aston Martin? But it's just different for everyone. You can't live like
Who has an
that.
Aston Martin?
Ramesh's got an Aston Martin. It's beautiful.
Good for him.
Yeah, Ramesh is
good for him.
He's doing the O2. Like he's huge.
I love that,
and he's excellent, and he deserves it.
Of course.
I've never gone, I wish I was him because he's so different to me. Sometimes there are certain people where you go, no, that when you've got people that you're quite similar to in style or something, that always makes me go, why them?
Yeah, the thing for me is I don't think I am similar to anybody on the circuit right now.
No,
I
no,
don't think there
definitely
is.
not.
So I think it's just literally a matter of not being what the industry's looking for at a specific time. And that's kind of where I'm
What they
stuck
want
in.
and what they look for is like, and also I do think as well, the problem with the industry, the problem with the industry, people in the industry, it's not like they don't like you. They've got short memories. So they like what's in front of them. Because I did something last year. I did like the Big Brother spin-off show.
Yeah.
Because my friend hosts it. So he was like, I want you to come and do it. And I was like, yep, great, lovely. And I used to do that stuff all the time, and I haven't for ages.
Mm-hmm.
And they got me on, and the booker was like, you were so great. She goes, I've just not booked you for years, and I kind of totally forgot how great you are. And you're like, she's like, I wish I'd been booking you more. And you're like, me too. Can we change that now? But they're already on to the next thing. So like, I think it's just trying to be relevant is really hard because there's hundreds of us, and people are forgetful naturally. So I think
Do you
that's
have an agent that does this stuff for you now, or are you solo when it
Yeah,
comes
I've got
to
an
TV
agent.
stuff?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've had more agents than anyone but me and Stephen
I
Bailey.
was just going to say, I bet Stephen Bailey's had more agents
No, I
than
think
you.
I'm one behind Stephen. I've had a lot.
So you're
of agents.
close.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Me and Stephen like talk to each other because also when we used to leave agents all the time, people never used to. They used to say it with agents for years. People are much more fluid now.
Yeah, I mean, I've only ever had one agent in this country, and now I don't have one.
I have one.
And I do think people say that doesn't hinder you. People are like, you don't need one, you don't need one. And I get that when it comes to live comedy. I do not want somebody to touch my live. I don't need it. But I do think there is a difference between an agent reaching out to producers and stuff than doing it on your own.
Also, they just hear about stuff you're never going to hear about.
Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes, like, it's not even like you're like, oh, I want to do the big things. But, like, I do pretty well, like, doing things like the top 50 most shocking moments of the 80s and, like, all these clip shows.
I love that stuff.
And, like, they're not, like, the glamorous things
No, but
you
it's
want to be
fun.
doing. But they're fun.
Yeah.
And it's easy money.
And you get treated better on set than you do at a club, for
Yeah,
sure.
totally.
Like when I first did, I've done a lot of little, not a lot, but most of my acting stuff has been like those like Christmas movies. Those like, beautiful
really?
Christmas movies. I'm always like the friend or the boss.
Amazing.
And my first time on set, I could
Like
not
a
believe.
Hallmark thing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love that.
That was kind of like my thing that I would always get booked for in Canada or always audition for.
So we don't have those as much here.
No, you don't.
No.
It's really
Yeah, I
sad.
know. You'd have been great.
I know. So I do get a lot of auditions. My thing with acting is I get a lot of auditions and a lot of callbacks and a lot of holds, but I don't book a lot.
Say, yeah.
And
I don't do any acting, but yeah.
I used to get my hopes up for it all the time, and now I just kind of look at it like buying a lottery ticket, where I'm just going to put it in a drawer, and if I hear something cool.
I would say though, so much of this game is just being the last man standing.
Yeah.
Just being around.
Have you seen the
and being
Rocky movies?
available. No, never.
You need to do that.
Is that what
There's
they're
a
about?
whole line of the Rocky movies about how it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep getting up.
Yeah.
And how nothing comes harder for you than life. And life will hit you as hard as you. It's all about how many hits can you take and be like, I'm still in. I'm still in.
That's
I'm
all
still
it
in.
is. This game is just being around.
Yes.
Just waiting and just because you never know.
Yeah. I mean, look at Jeff Innocent. He's killing it right now.
Just done it. He's just put on a huge
Yeah.
tour and everything.
And it's so
35 years in comedy.
Yeah.
So deserved.
And he didn't even start till he was in his 40s.
No, I know.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, what a guy.
I know.
He's so funny. He's such a nice bloke
He's
as well.
so nice. And he's so grateful for what he's getting.
Yeah.
Like, he's not one of those people that are like, yeah, it's about time. Like, he's so fucking grateful, and I love that.
Someone did something recently, a TV thing, and they posted like the door, and they were like, "About time," and I was like, "You've been gigging 5 years."
I have a friend who's been in about 5 years, and I had to kind of have that chat with him recently because he was very bitter, and I said, listen, if you're bitter now, come talk to me in 15 years.
Yeah,
because I have had so many opportunities where I could have been very bitter, and there's just no point. And it's not that I don't have those emotions, but I know they're a me thing and not an anybody else thing, and I kind of know how to shut them off.
It does happen as well, like, acts who kind of get quite a bit of success early on, and then you're dressing with them, and the way they sort of talk, and you go, oh, you will be humbled by this. It's coming.
It's nice to see sometimes.
We will all look. I was like clubs, and then a year later was hosting a TV show and doing mad stuff, right? And I was like, I'm on the up now. And then there was a down, and I didn't do anything for you, and I've been humbled by it now. But there was probably a point where I was like, I was you, thinking this is it. I'm on the up. Mm-hmm. It's only going to go up and up and up from here. Mm-hmm. And you just go, come back to me in 2 years when you've been absolutely kicked by this.
Yeah.
And I think that does happen. I had a chat with Sean Walsh about it in Eurax. He goes, he would say that he's been humbled by it. I definitely have, where you go,
he's really nice. I've only met him recently, and such a nice guy.
I would say, so he started a couple of years before me. Of the generation I'm in, he's the best comic. Mm-hmm. He's just stunningly good.
Yeah.
And he's had really hard times, and and I think you do that. He was on the trajectory, and then it stops, and it teaches you something about yourself.
Well, it must be different because starting here where there is more opportunity, you see people that you've started with get things.
Yeah.
Like in Canada, like I said, it's just not really like that. You all kind of get the same things. Like, I mean, I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
start with Catherine Ryan, but she was always determined to be a star. She
Yeah,
always had that star quality.
Yeah, yeah.
You could always tell that this was the life she was meant to have. And she's always been such a nice person.
Yeah, yeah.
So funny and so kind about everything she's gotten and appreciative of it. But again, she had to leave Canada to do that. But looking back at the other people I kind of started comedy with, a lot of them are just still in Canada hoping to be like that 1 in a million person who they just had to take a chance
it's weird,
on.
like, because, you know, starting out with people here, like, I remember these people who are now very famous, like, leaving their day jobs. Like, loads of my friends who, like, you know, to go back to, like, Ramesh, like, I remember I did a gig in his school for him when he was still a teacher. And you just think, like, everyone's like that in this. You know, Greg Davies was a teacher for years. Like, they all started in their late 30s, a lot of those guys. Rod Gilbert started a bit later. And you go, yeah, like, it's sort of, you do see that around you, people going from normal life to superstardom.
Does part of you wish you started a bit later? I have moments where I feel like it might have been good for me to have started a bit later because I feel like I wasted the first 10 years just treating it like a party.
I think I don't wish I'd started later, but I wish some things had come, like some opportunities that I got young came along later.
Okay.
There's stuff that I got offered when I was 22 that I wish I'd been offered at 20.
Well, I also feel like when people see you at 22 and you're not quite there,
yeah,
they will always remember that version of you.
and also, like, I was thrown into, like, hosting these shows, and people were like, oh, it's not quite working. I was like, well, none of you ever told me how. You just went, off you go. And I was like, whereas if I was a bit wiser, I'd have probably dealt with it better and, like, been better at doing it.
Is there something that you really, really, really want that you haven't gotten yet?
No, all I want now is anything where I get to go abroad. Like, that's all I'm into.
Okay.
So, like, anything where if someone said to me, would you like to do a travel show? I'd be like, yeah, that's all I
love
want.
that.
To do a little travel show where I get to go to interesting places. It used to be I'd want to do X, Y, and Z, but now just a nice little show. Doesn't have, even on Discovery, I don't care what it's on. I just want to go and see things.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's all
like
I
that.
want now.
Okay,
Like,
so it's not about the fame and the fortune.
no, it's about experience.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, if someone turned around and went, do you want £10 million to do this? Yeah, obviously. But, like, as long as I can work and do interesting stuff, then I'm quite happy.
Is there a specific rejection that cut you the most?
Yeah. I was up to do the spin-off show, doing stand-up on it for the I'm a Celebrity. And I love I'm a Celeb. Of
course.
One of my favourite shows to watch. And it was one of the few, like, screen tests where I left it going, I think I've got this. And a friend of mine worked on the show and he texted me going, everyone's really impressed with you. Like, we really want you, blah, blah, blah. And it just didn't go to me. It went to another guy. And like that, like, and also the other guy, we're not friends anymore, but we were best friends.
That's tough.
And that wasn't the time we fell out. We fell out years later.
That is tough though.
But, and it really stung because he got the job and I was like gutted because this was one that I felt like I was built to do it because I knew the show in and out. Like, I was really excited about it. And then he got it and I was like, look, I'm really proud of you. And it was really hard to go, I'm really proud of you. Like, let me take you out for dinner as a congratulations, right? So we went out for dinner and we sat and I was like, I got a glass of champagne each. We went, congratulations, I'm really proud. And he went, let me just do this before we do anything else. I finally got something over you. Fuck you. And then we had dinner, and that for me is why it stung, because he was so ungracious about it.
That's pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty shitty.
And so I was already like trying to be the bigger person. And then, like, I was like, you're making it really fucking hard now. You're being a cunt.
Well, I read Matthew Perry's biography.
I did too.
And when he talks about the guy who got offered Chandler and turned it down because he wanted to be the star of a show and not an ensemble. And then that show didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And he didn't speak to him for years because he was just so bitter that he never took that role, you know?
But then it wouldn't have been the same. You can't, I also think there's things where I've gone, oh, I didn't get that. So, like, another one, like Love Island, like, has been a huge...
Does it make you feel good when things you didn't get fail?
Oh my God, so good. Like, yeah, of course.
I love that. I love your
honesty. But what I would
honesty
say is, like, the big shows like that, I look at it and I go, it wouldn't have been as good with me. Like, everything that I've never got, I've looked at it and gone, it wouldn't have ever been the same, so you couldn't guarantee the success would have been there.
Fair.
Because I'd have done it differently. So it may well have been an absolute flop because, like, you know, like the Love Island thing, Ian is fantastic at that. I wouldn't be as good as him at it.
Okay.
And I know that.
That's a good place to know.
And I think there's a lot of things where I look at it and I go, there's very few things I've ever lost and gone, I would have done that better. They should have. I always watch it and go, oh, they've done it really well. And actually, like, you know, it's nothing to do with, I can't be angry.
Do you think because you got stuff young, people were a little untoward towards you a little bit?
Circuit comics were, because like they were like, oh, you just want to be a TV presenter. You've done stand up to be a TV presenter.
I don't understand why some people look down on like stuff like that.
But also, like, stand up is not the easy way into it. Like,
no, you would go to school or get a job working on sets or something like that.
stand-up is the hardest way into anything.
Agreed.
And it's such a back way. So I think that used to happen a lot. And it's only now there's a lot of like the older circuit guys who now have been on the circuit for like 14 years are like, oh, yeah, all right.
Because they understand.
Because they're like, oh, well, you're still here. So
Exactly.
clearly it wasn't that.
When I first started, I had a few comics be mean to me, and they've since apologized. And they're like, honestly, I just didn't think that you just didn't. I looked at you and was like, oh, she's not going to be here in 5 years. And now you're
I
still
think you do,
here,
especially when you're young.
You know?
And you're like, you know, you would have been the same. Like, you're doing these big clubs and you're like 19, 20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess people think, well, you need to go and live a life first. But everyone's different, right?
They're not exactly wrong. Like, I do
I
feel
don't know
like
anyone else that started at the same age as me. That's really interesting. I want to talk to you more about that.
Of course.
Yeah,
I do feel like life experience has helped me in terms of the clubs, because I do feel like when you're 19, 20 and you're going up and there's people even in their 30s and 40s, they're just kind of rolling your eyes when you're talking about relationships and things, because they're like, you don't know shit. But now that I'm at the age I'm at, I feel like people listen more and are like, okay, you know what you're talking about.
But I always went on and like totally subverted, like, and would talk about like, oh, I'm like your teenager, rather than trying to be on their level. I would go, this is what we think of you at our level. And like that always
I don't think I put enough thought into it, to be honest.
See, I was very like consciously like made myself the young actor.
See, I think I was just so excited that I could be in places before I could drink and they would give me alcohol. So I think I definitely feel like I kind of treated it a little too much like a party, because like I had older people wanting to hang out, wanting to take me to bars and wanting to, you know, that kind of stuff. So looking back,
I didn't really drink till my mid-20s.
Well, see, I don't drink anymore at all, because I drank a lot.
Yeah.
Between 18 to 27, I drank a lot.
Yeah. I didn't drink till my mid-20s. I love a drink now, but like, yeah, for a long time I didn't really drink.
So I definitely feel like I wasted some of those years on treating it like a party and not enough like a business.
Yeah, well, see, I was good. So my dad was really upset when I dropped out of university to do stand-up.
What were you taking in university?
Publishing, like a real sort of like easy degree.
Did you want to do it?
No, I just didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Okay.
So I picked something that looked vaguely interesting and was local. And so when I quit uni, I was still living at home, and my dad said, so my dad worked from home, and he went, that's fine. He goes, but it's a job. He goes, so you get in from your gig. After 8 hours in bed, I'm going to get you up and you're to sit there writing or emailing people.
You're very fortunate.
So that means
That's
that I
great.
always was, like, from early doors, like, I was always someone that was known to do, like, a lot of like, I worked really hard because I had him breathing down my neck.
That's really good. Like, because I left my small town at 18, graduated high school, peace out, went to the big city, did comedy. So I never really had any of that.
Yeah,
so
I
for
stayed
me,
at
it was
home for a long
lot
time.
of changes in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I think it went okay. Like I said, I was working for Yucks at a very young age.
Yeah.
And very fast. But I definitely feel like I was just a kid, and I probably would handle things differently now.
I wish I hadn't spent all my money.
Oh yeah,
That's the only thing. Like, there was a point where I made really good money, and
yeah.
I've not got loads.
I probably
to show
could have
for it.
bought a house had I have been a little smarter.
Like I have done. Like I've done all that much later than I could. Like if I'd have been boring, but I had a great time.
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah, I had a really nice time.
That's a really good way to look at it.
Oh, you know, but now I'm sort of like, you know, like if it's a year where I'm just doing circuit gigs, it's like turning right on a plane is really hard again.
I know, and I get so embarrassed about money, and I shouldn't, because I've gone through periods where I've had a lot.
Yeah, and then I've had nothing.
And now I'm in a little bit of a dip right now.
Yeah.
And I get very
temporarily dipped.
But I think when I moved here, I was a lot more wealthy because, well, when I switched my money from Canadian dollars into British pounds, I lost like half of everything.
Did you?
Yeah, our
Is
dollars
it not
are
the
not.
other way. I thought it would be better to come here.
No,
Oh, really?
it's the opposite. So it's almost half. It's like 164, something like that. So it's awful. So I definitely thought my money would take me a lot further than it did, and it didn't. And I think I kind of presented myself as that. Like I had a lot of nice designer things, a lot of bags, and which I've since sold a lot, which is very humiliating.
Good because you look, buying a designer bag, you might get. Like my girlfriend's got a couple of bags, and I think they're now worth more than she paid because they're all in demand.
Yeah, but
it's
the
like
thing is
putting
too,
it into an ice.
Nobody wants to hear you complain about that. Like
No.
I tried to do it on stage, people don't have. Like I was really upset that I had to sell my Apple stock, and I'm like, oh, people don't care. Like you can't complain about that
on
stuff.
stage. That is tricky.
I'm trying to make it funny, but so far
in America,
people are like,
I think they would be sympathetic. In Britain,
they don't give a fuck.
No, here, like
I had to talk about how I bought my first meal deal, and people were like, "What is wrong with you?" And I
Yeah.
remember I went to Nando's with Elliot's deal, and I was like, I can't believe I'm eating at a Nando's. He's like, this is not a Pavo restaurant. Like,
No,
what
this
is
is just
wrong with
normal.
you? He's like, this is where I spent all my birthdays as a child. And I was like, ugh. not used to this, but now I've embraced it. I've learned to live cheaper. I'm fine with where I am. But for me, I have humility in the sense that when I have to ask somebody for my money that they should have paid a week or two before, I get very anxiety ridden about it because I don't want to present myself as somebody that needs the money, even though I need the money. So that's something that I'm fucked up with and I'm trying to work on.
I've had this recently with an ex-agent I've just left who it turns out hasn't been invoicing for things for months. And I'm like, I need the money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but the thing is as well, even if it's £10, it's the principle. Like, people should pay. Look, I run a gig. I pay everyone the day after because the money comes to me, the ticket money. I get the ticket money on the day of the gig, so I pay everyone cash if I can.
I understand that some places take 30 days. Like the tours that I'm doing right now,
30 days is acceptable.
They take 30 days, but they tell you that. What I don't like is when you get an email when you take the gig being like, you will be paid by this Friday, this date, and then you don't. And then 4 weeks hit, and you got to ask them, and then they give you attitude, and then you don't get in the next round of bookings. That pisses me off.
Yeah, I hate chasing for money for gigs I've done.
Me too.
I find it really offensive.
I do as well. I miss the days of cash, to be honest with you. I miss the days of just, you do a club, you get an envelope full of cash, and you're on your way.
Those were the days.
Those were the days. I feel so old that I
go and do like Comedia and Brighton, you get like £750 cash.
Love it.
Oh. Whereas now you have to go and it's like for the £40 gigs of cash. Nothing else is. And
even then, sometimes people like invoice me. I'm like, it's £25. Like, what am I invoicing you for? Like, with the HMRC really going to raise the thing about us? And now there's that whole HMRC thing that they're going to be looking at your eBay and
anything over
sales.
£1,000, they've said a year.
I'm not okay with that because I have sold a lot over £1,000, but I didn't make money off of it.
Well, I think that's the thing is so I read a thing where they said basically it's if it's your business.
So if I can prove, like, listen, I sold this purse for half of what I paid for it.
Yeah, I think you're okay.
I made a couple grand, but I paid whatever for it. I'll probably be okay.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's going to be.
Okay. I'm not used to taxes here, how they work, so I'm a little nervous to do my first tax return.
I'm clueless. I'm bad with money.
So am I. I'm very bad with money.
I can't be trusted. So
no, me neither.
I have it all. I have a bank account that splits it all up for me automatically, and that I spunk my money. That's the only thing I regret about my life. Is like, did I really need to go to Vegas?
Is your partner better with money?
Much better, yeah.
That's good. It's good to have somebody that's
She's much better and like was always been much more successful than me. And like the reason we have a house and stuff is because she's sensible, not because I am.
I feel that way for a lot of, I'm going to say male comedians because that's just my experiences. I feel a lot of them who are like, I don't have a day job, but I own a house. I'm like, you're literally married to a psychiatrist or you're literally married to like a surgeon.
Well, I'm very open.
What are you talking about?
We have a lovely house and not a huge mortgage because she put a lot of money into the flat that she bought. Like,
that's
it's
great.
Nothing to do with me.
Yeah, that's great.
I've got someone much more sensible and much more successful than me.
I feel like that's the only way to kind of make it work.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. If you can't marry a billionaire, just someone one above you.
Yeah.
That's all
you got to marry up a little.
Yeah, of course. And look, they're getting a comic, it's glamorous, it's showbiz. Everyone wins.
I don't know if it works that way for female comedians, sadly.
I think it could, though. I think, I don't know, all the female comics I know are married to, absolute crackers.
Okay.
I think they've all married, amazingly. None of them are married to losers. They've all got great partners who you think, yeah, you're definitely I think it's harder to find them, but once a female comic finds a good partner, then they're solid.
When I was dating, I found a lot of guys that really liked the idea of being with a comic, and then they'd be like, I've always thought about doing comedy. And I was like, shut her down. I think a lot of people who are attracted to female comics are people that want to be comics.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say, one of my friends is married to a great guy, and she is a comic, loud, everything that comes with. And her husband is the quietest, most confident, easygoing, just happy in his own skin man. You think you're perfect for a comedian.
I love that.
Yeah, that's exactly what a comic needs.
Comics need somebody that lets them be in the spotlight.
Yeah, my girlfriend always says, she goes, everyone thinks she's quiet. She goes, she isn't quiet.
She's very quiet.
But she's not compared to, she's just quieter than me.
Okay.
She isn't when she's running the gig because she's doing stuff, but she isn't with her friends. She's loud as you like, but she's everyone thinks I'm quiet because I'm next to you.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But she's cool with that. She doesn't care.
That's great. You're very fortunate to have
I know.
that. Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to find someone, I think, as a comic because I think.
How long have you been with her?
9 years.
Did you have rejections in relationships during this tumultuous time?
But I had a long-term girlfriend till I was 19, 16 to 19. Then started doing comedy, and then I didn't have one till I was 21. And then we were together for 8 months, and then I got on telly and just shagged around.
Okay, so you went through that phase.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay. And then met Sam. After so I had a horrible relationship before Sam of a girlfriend that was trying to get back with her ex and everything, and that was a horrible
tough.
Rejection. And
of course.
And it was hard because it's that failure of it where you go, I'd moved out of home to London to live with her, and it was awful. It was a disaster, but I didn't want to tell anyone because I was embarrassed that it had gone bad.
Of course.
So that's quite hard when you'd moved and you'd pinned all this stuff.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I definitely feel that.
And then then you regress from everyone because you go, oh, actually, like, you all told me this might happen and it's happened and I all told you to go fuck yourself.
Yeah, it's like when I got a tattoo and my dad said, you'll regret this one day. And I didn't tell him when I got it removed for like years because I did not want him to know that he was right and I regretted it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you have any, what do you have going on now that's positive or that you want to plug or anything like that? I know you've got your own little podcast.
I've got a podcast called
I said little podcast. That sounded very...
No, it is, it's
not
new.
a little podcast.
It's called I Am Prime Minister. It's
Love
all about what guests would do if they woke up Prime Minister.
Okay.
Like their policies. And but other than that, like, I'm just gigging and stuff, like just trying to work. I'm very sort of like, I don't have anything big going on or any big projects. I'm just like cracking on with it. Just getting on with the job.
I love that. You have a great attitude. I think a lot of people could have taken all your rejections and been like, fuck this business,
Oh, I have. There's been a couple of times where I've looked.
But you never stopped gigging during that time.
No,
and I think that's key.
But I also like, as much as I moan about it and all the, I think I hate the bullshit of the job. But
I love being on stage. It's
the
like train strikes and like not getting paid properly and working with sleazy people. Everything that goes around it is what I find
The 20 minutes on stage though, or the 40 minutes or whatever it is
great.
like that.
Yeah.
If I could do that 10 minutes from my house every day, that would be the dream, like for an hour to 500 people.
That would be
and everyone comes to me.
the dream.
That's all I want. But that's never going to happen, so I have to travel. But yeah, I love gigging. Like, and if I don't gig for a few days, I get really
You seem like a really positive person.
I mostly am.
It's annoying.
Really? I think I'm
No, I like it. I'm just giving you a hard
positive
time.
but self-aware. That's what I like to do.
I think that's what it is. You're positive, but you're also realistic. Like I can say to you, oh, well, this is shit. And you'll be like, it is
It is shit. Yeah,
you're
you
not
don't
like,
deserve
oh,
that.
just keep your chin up. So I do like that.
No, there's loads of things that are like unfair and should happen differently and are political, but like a lot of this, that's not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
If something happens like that, you just got to go, well, it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't me. Like there's been certain things that I've been up for and thought I should, I did a really good job and like could have gotten, and then you see who does it. This is like stand-up stuff. And you see who got it in the end, you go, well, I was never going to get it if that's who they're booking, and they saw me to have my best gig ever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not down to me, and I'm very good at letting that go now. I never used to be, but now I'm just like, cool, whatever.
Yeah, I feel I've learned to let a lot of things go since I moved here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a lot of hopes and dreams.
Yeah, just it's not nothing. It's a lot of this is nothing to do with you.
Yeah, but that's still annoying because then if it was something to do with you, you could figure out what you could change.
But you just have to go, well, it's not to do with me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll just crack on and hope to God someone gives me loads of money and fame.
Oh God! If someone gave me a lot of money, I would just retire and disappear.
Yeah, I had this conversation once with Kate Barron, who you're friends with.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about winning the lottery, and I was like, 10 million, I'm out.
Agreed. Same.
And Kate was like, no, like, what I'll do is, like, if I got 10 million, I'd invest it into my own career and me as a comic. And I said to her, I was like, come back to me in 5 years.
I would get a shit ton of plastic surgery.
Really?
Yeah, and I would move to, like, an island somewhere. And
I'd just go on holiday forever.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I would do that. I would make myself look like a different person.
Yeah.
And I would be done with
I'd be gone.
I
I'd be
might
out.
pop into the odd club from time to time just to remind everybody that I'm better than them now.
I wouldn't even do that. I would just be gone. That'd be me gone. Unless there's a comedy club in the Maldives, I'm not fucking going.
Well, maybe we can win the money and go start a comedy club in the Maldives. It will just be us every night.
Dream.
That would be. So if you woke up tomorrow, your notifications were blowing up your phone, and you were getting all these messages from people being like, "What did you do? Everyone hates Matt Richardson." Is there something in your mind that you're like, it would probably be because I did this?
You know what? I was thinking about this. I don't know really. When I think I do like put my foot in my mouth occasionally, but I'm not like a particularly controversial person. Like,
okay,
so I don't know what I would have done. Probably something pissed. Like I'd been drunk and done something stupid. Like I'd have said something wrong or like posted like a picture of myself naked by accident. Like it would have been something that like has happened when I've been inebriated. I'm normally quite good.
Okay.
Otherwise. Yeah, because I'm not a controversial comic. So
no, you're not like that.
No. There's been a couple of times on stage where I've said something controversial like by accident, like I've used like the wrong term, and then I've panicked for days. At Reading Festival this year, there was a kid in the audience who was really annoying me. He kept yelling out and being a pain, and I did say, I dream, and I started to lose my patience with him. And I did see a few like phones come out, like as I was getting annoyed.
That's my biggest fear.
And I was like, oh, and then I said to him, my dream is that I wake up on Monday and I read "Man dies in tent." And I was like, if someone filmed that and out of context, like it was really cruel. And I thought like something like that, I could lose my temper on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
probably.
people are always looking for things now.
Yeah, but it was that when I just saw a few people go like that, and I thought, oh, I'm getting angry clearly because they're filming it.
Yeah.
They think this is worth it.
Well, good to know. I will keep my eyes on your socials if I ever
Thank
know
you.
you're out getting wasted.
You can destroy me.
Love it. I will. No, you are the last Matt Richardson standing.
Hopefully.
Let's keep that.
If no one should start now who's called Matt Richardson until I'm dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make that happen.
Yeah, it's like the monarchy.
It's a little more acceptable than the monarchy,
Yeah,
frankly. I might have to cut that out. I don't know how many monarchists watch this podcast. I don't know what I can and can't say in this country when it comes to the royal family.
Whatever you like, people don't mind, I don't think.
They're
They're your
fine.
royal family as well.
Fair. I am part of the Commonwealth. That's why I was able to move to this country. So
Exactly. So you love them because you're part of the Commonwealth.
I love them. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for
Is
having
there
me.
anything else you need to get out of your system?
No, I feel like we've really covered it.
I appreciate it. And you were just right from the get-go. Failure, failure, failure.
Yeah,
I love that.
I think we should do this regularly, the two of us. Just
would
meet
love
for a
it.
coffee and moan.
I would love that.
You feel like we've got the same amount of like negativity in us.
Yeah, I love it. It's perfect. Thank you so much for coming on. Everyone Hates You. This is Everyone Hates Matt Richardson. Yay! Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone hates you.